Hi, I'm Maddie, sitting down with the Current for the Current in Manitoba Music's Exchange. We just heard music from King Brown from Minneapolis here. That was just their track Black Mass. We also heard F Genius and kicked it off with 1111. Super excited to be here today with our friends from across the border up north. But wanted to first take a second to say that acknowledge that we are on Indigenous land. Minnesota is the homeland of the Dakota people who have lived here for thousands of years. Indigenous people from other Indigenous nations also reside in Minnesota and have made innumerable contributions to a region. Indigenous people are still here, they're thriving and contributing to our collective futures. Michael, would you like to take it away?
Sure. I'm Michael, the program director at UMFM, the campus community station at the University of Manitoba, which is located on Treaty 1 territory, the original lands of the Anishinaabe, the Cree, OG Cree, Dakota, and Dene peoples, and the homeland of the Métis Nation. And we are joined by members of King Brown and by members of Super Duty Tough Work for this Manitoba-Minnesota Music Exchange. Aaron, Alex, and Brennan, welcome to the exchange.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
And it's actually, we're even further afield from Minnesota and Manitoba because Alex, you're in New Orleans.
Yeah.
So we have to, it's MMN. We've got we've got to extend the vowels and syllables to include you in the exchange, NO. Have you been down in New Orleans this whole time, or how long have you been down there?
By this whole time.
Sorry, I guess because I've gotten so used to talking about the period of COVID that that's what I mean. Have you since last March or before that or?
No, actually, I came down here in September. So I guess sort of halfway through, or the halfway point from now. And yeah.
Was that a move that you'd always anticipated making, or did that come about as a result of some stuff that went on during?
No, I guess I felt kind of compelled to because there wasn't really a lot going on, in Minneapolis or anywhere for that matter. So I guess part of it was I felt compelled that this would be a good time to relocate and try a new place. I'm not originally from Minnesota. I'm from Austin. So this is a bit closer to home for me.
Yeah, I guess we want to start kind of broadly just talking about, with moving and making music and existing as an artist during COVID, what have been kind of big reflections that you've had on this year, things that you think of when you think about the past year as an artist and a music maker?
Well, I sort of transitioned a lot of stuff to be able to make music remotely and just at home. And yeah, I think a lot of people this past year have been able to collaborate actually more so than they have in the past, just because there's really no gigs to prepare for or coordinate, so people are just kind of sitting at home. And it's caused a lot of online conversations and online exchanges of music and collaborations. So which would be for example, one of our friends in Minneapolis got us to record tracks at home during last summer. For an album of basically different Minneapolis musicians. And it was kind of a big melting pot of people who, either set up their mic at home or recorded their instruments at home, and then he put it all together into a big thing. So I think stuff like that has happened this year or this past year that wouldn't have happened otherwise, because people are usually more focused on their primary band or group or whatever when it's just normal times and people can go outside and stuff.
Yeah, it's interesting to hear that being socially distant has kind of facilitated collaboration for you. Aaron and Brendan, do you guys want to weigh in on that kind of idea as well?
Yeah, I think when when we were in the process of recording our new album, the pandemic kind of worked in our favor in one respect, in that, you know, we're a 2-person band, so we didn't really have to worry too much about, you know, being around groups of people, because it was just Alex and I working on these songs. And then, you know, I think in general, artists and musicians tend to need to, you know, express themselves, you know, given any situation. So, you know, it was difficult in that we couldn't play the gigs that we had lined up, and we couldn't book other new gigs. But, you know, Alex and I kind of hunkered down and really focused on the songs that we had been working on for, you know, 3 or 4 months prior to the pandemic. And it was a nice distraction to get away from everything negative. And because, you know, it was obvious that it was affecting everybody's mental health, and not being able to go out and see, you know, gigs and shows, and you know, hug your friends and have a good time, which is usually what music is all about. So yeah, I mean, to circle back, you know, being able to at least produce something good from a bad situation, I think was pretty cool. And being able to collaborate with other musicians on that one album was definitely an eye opener as far as what's possible. You know, technology allows for it to be a little bit easier these days to send files back and forth and collaborate that way. So I think Alex and I were just excited to be a part of it, and, you know, to remain semi-productive during the pandemic.
I mean, what can I add? I did not do a whole lot of collaborating myself, frankly, over the course of the COVID era so far. So just kind of been, I guess, focusing energy elsewhere, really.
Can I ask you, Brendan, where you've been focusing your energy? Has it been like a specific kind of pursuit that you've been doing, or just finding that you couldn't do the music, you were kind of just had to do something else?
Well, over the course of the last year, like we've had a lot of opportunities come to us. I mean, I'm not a fan of live streams or live stream performance videos and all that sort of thing to do or to watch someone else's, really. But we had a lot of those, and that actually was like huge for us to just keep the lights on. You know what I mean? So, but it just didn't really allow for a whole lot of writing to be happening. And like we're a pretty large group, even though we don't really need to be together to write, but like I think everyone was just kind of like struggling basically and busy doing other things, you know. So
yeah, I would describe Super Duty as an ensemble, right? Like you guys thrive on that kind of collective, cohesive nature, right? Like I think a lot of what you do comes out of working together. And I mean, so some of you have background in jazz and sort of that spontaneity and creativity. I don't know if you can necessarily harness that in a Zoom call or, you know, in a distanced way. So I have to imagine that played an impact in terms of like how you guys were able to create, or whether that just even precluded creating in this time.
Like, if I'm being 100% honest, man, we just had other things to take care of. You know what I mean? Like everybody had some just life things. So music was not even like actually that important. It was great that we could do these live streams and get money, but like, you know, writing music, for me at least, and like a couple others, it was just like not even a priority. So we're just kind of getting out of that mind frame right now, actually, which is dope. But yeah, we were busy doing other things. You know what I mean?
Are you willing to kind of talk about the other things? Like, because I imagine, and I know Aaron kind of hinted at like mental health issues of like the pandemic and stuff like that. can we go down that road? Are you guys willing to talk a little bit about kind of what the impact of, COVID's had on mental health and having to maybe take something that you're passionate about, like creating music and artistic pursuits, and back burner that to deal with kind of more immediate or pressing concerns over this past year. Is that something you're alluding to, Brendan?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I mean, like nothing that I'm sure anyone else here hasn't had to deal with in some way, shape, or form, whether personally or through some people that are close to them, right? So like we're a large group, so there's a lot of things going on, right? So sure, mental health is an issue, addictions is an issue, homelessness was an issue, you know what I mean? And yeah, so spread that around 5 or 6 people, and it's just life, man. Like it's nothing special to us, you know what I mean? Everyone has those experiences, but we were just experiencing them a lot all at the same time in COVID.
Right. And I think, what I found is maybe the situation with COVID didn't necessarily like create situations, but kind of pulled back the curtain on existing things, right? Like you're talking, addiction, homelessness, things like that. Those are, societal issues that existed pre-pandemic, but that were exacerbated by, people losing, precarious living situations or losing any income, things like that kind of magnified it over that time. And I think some awareness of kind of how precarious a world we all lived in beforehand without kind of acknowledging it. And we've had like a lot of time to sit with that and realize just how messed up things were. And maybe when we talk about, like a lot of people have abandoned saying like when we get back to what it was before, because I don't think people necessarily want to go back. They want to like carve a new path forward. Is that something that you've been individually or collectively thinking about over the past year, kind of like coming out of this, obviously there's a period in which we had to stay away from each other because, the infectious nature of the disease, but coming out of the period when we can then again be together, what are we going to do with that? What's it going to look like? Is that something that you've been thinking about?
Well, yeah, I mean, as a group, me and Aaron have kind of been thinking about what it's going to be like to go back out and perform again, and it's been kind of an issue because it's still, to me, it's still like fresh in people's minds, and it's a bit awkward to ask people to come out and see something in a live setting because obviously there's still a lot of risk going out in public, and also I guess one of my concerns is like, are people gonna like enjoy themselves, and is it gonna be like the same going out to see a live show and going out to perform as it was like before any of like the precautions existed and like social distancing? So that's something we've been taking very seriously and giving a lot of thought to, just because, I guess for me, just because I don't want it to like be too soon or like a hindrance on how things are gonna feel, and if they're ever gonna be like exactly the same again. That's a good point too, is like we don't really know if it's gonna like, if shows are gonna like be as fun or what, or feel the same as they did. But I guess what our challenge has been recently is like trying to decide on a plan for like when we're gonna go back out, and I guess, yeah, just how we want to do it.
And the same can be said, I mean, even for, preparing for the release of this new album, that we put out last week, you know, we really, I mean, we've been sitting on it for like 6 or 8 months because we didn't feel right, you know, taking something that to us is, you know, upbeat and celebratory and releasing it in the middle of a pandemic when people can't even leave their houses. That, you know, it just didn't feel morally right to us. And so, you know, as far as getting out and playing shows, you know, I guess the way I envision it is, you know, once we're fully beyond this COVID stuff, you know, I envision it as being a huge celebration of each other, of music, art, just, you know, and I think both Alex and I, we want to be part of that celebration, but what we don't want to do is try and, you know, speed it up for our own personal interests or whatnot. And I mean, it's just very difficult to navigate through a time period that's unknown to everybody, not just musicians, but, you know, everybody really. And we're trying to navigate through it and make the right choices, not just for ourselves, but for everybody involved, you know, the local music community, the listeners, the fans, other bands. I mean, just everybody. We hope that, you know, once COVID is behind us, we can all just get together and play these great shows and get back, you know, some of the camaraderie, you know, that I'm sure many bands have been missing out on for this past year or more.
You guys kind of started talking about this a little bit with like the idea of celebration and camaraderie. In addition to all the apprehension and like rightful anxiety and collective hardship that we've kind of all been going through, is there anything that you're kind of looking forward to within the next period of time, whether like musically or personally, just like something that's on the horizon that you feel like is worthy of excitement?
I mean, we're working on a new record. That's
awesome.
Got some dope people involved, and that is kind of where a lot of energy is going. So hopefully it's going to be everything that we want, you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I guess one thing that I've been excited about is just, I don't know, I not to make like light of it, but I'm not like a very social person, so staying at home for the past year hasn't like been super hard for me, and I've had a lot of time to like actually do more like creative stuff and writing and stuff independently. And also now that me and Aaron are kind of like in two different places, it's given me a lot of time to consider the possibility of like the possibilities of like writing and continuing to make music like remotely by just sending files back and forth. So I think that's probably what I'm most looking forward to, is just future projects and getting to experiment a little bit more with this kind of like distanced process of being creative.
Aaron, you were talking about, you know, hesitancy to release the record until just now because of like having a celebratory tone to it during a like period of anxiety. In terms of like when you first started writing the record, like I have to imagine it was pre-pandemic.
Right.
Do you think like the music you would have written would be decidedly different if you'd started, you know, like February, March of last year?
No, I think, you know, Alex is, you know, for the most part, the main songwriter, the the guy with the cool ideas. So I don't think that would have affected us or the songs that are on the record. You know, before the pandemic, we had a bunch of gigs lined up, and we were kind of firing on all cylinders. And then the pandemic came. We had to cancel all those shows, and we had to take stock of, you know, what we had and what we wanted to do with it. Now, we could have decided, you know, let's just squash it. It's not going to happen, you know, and then Alex moves away, and then, you know, we might not be having this conversation, or maybe we, you know, we wouldn't have an end result or a product at the end of it in the form of a new album. But it was a way for us to kind of do justice to our work leading up to that point in time when the pandemic hit. And no, I don't think it would have affected the songs or the music. I just, you know, who knows if it would have gotten done at all. You know what I mean? Alex could have went to New Orleans without recording anything, and, you know, we wouldn't be having this conversation. So, but it was something that we both really wanted to do. And again, it was a way for us to kind of, you know, go into our own, inside of our own shells, and just knock something out that we believed in, regardless of what was going on and how chaotic the outside world was. We just dove into what we were working on, and we wanted to see it through and remain committed to, you know, putting out a kick-ass album. And luckily, you know, we were able to do that.
Now, Brandon, you're working on a new record. Has the last year played into, like, thematically or lyrically the stuff that you're writing right now?
Yeah, sure. Like, in terms of all the things I just mentioned, like, you know, it's not like we're writing a record about COVID, right? But like, I don't know if, so in that sense, it's probably not any different than it would have been. You know what I mean? Like, that's just that, yeah. And like I said, we're not, you know, there's no COVID theme action going on for us, but who knows? It's still in the process of being created. So maybe we'll have a COVID banger, you know, that everyone will be able to love and relate to. Not, I think, I don't know. Maybe you guys tell me, were you know, are you writing COVID themed music or?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, not yet.
I haven't thought about that.
We could always collaborate.
3 years or something until it's out of people's, you know, because I feel there's just so much. It's like people are like, oh, here's a song I wrote about COVID. Here's a song I wrote about quarantine. Just like,
yeah. Well, no, I've definitely heard some songs that kind of will allude to a quarantine type of, or, you know, like allude to those themes, but I haven't thought about it actually.
Yeah, I've kind of heard people starting to express that, like, since this is kind of something that we all experienced in different ways, but like all kind of have had to experience over the past year, that it just feels like everything is like really saturated, and it's almost like can be repetitive to hear another song about it. Is that kind of where you guys are coming from too? That you're just kind of like, let's think about anything else. Like, I've heard this before, or is it different?
You know, artists pull inspiration from experiences and life events. And, you know, at least myself personally, this past year, I've tried to be empathetic to other people's situations, and, you know, trying to remind myself that, you know, we're all eating the same sandwich. And I don't know. I don't think it's one of those things that I would specifically focus on as, you know, singling out, but, you know, it definitely influences people. And, I'm sure, there's a lot of musicians and artists who take their experiences over the past year and put it into their art. A lot of us, we do this not because we want to, we do it because we have to, in order to, maintain some form of sanity or just be happy in general, to create and produce. And so if anything, my hope is that we'll get a bunch of really good music out of this whole situation. So that's what I'm looking forward to.
I think that's what's going to happen too, regardless of what it's about. You know what I mean? I think, like, you guys are sitting on your record. I think there's like tons of people that are just sitting on stuff they had ready before and stuff they've been creating since, and it's gonna be pretty crazy, I think, when it gets a little safer.
Has there been anything that's come out over the last year, like for those who haven't sat on stuff, that has resonated with you guys?
Well, I see a lot of bands that we that we have played with in Minneapolis that are all sort of getting back together, and I guess just this year I've seen a lot of people putting out new stuff that they've been working on all winter, and getting like ready to play shows this summer, and putting out flyer or advertising for new performances. And I feel like the general consensus with everybody right now who plays music is that everyone's just really anxious to get back out there and show off and promote what they've been working on for the past year, because I think people did take, or I guess, some people did take the time off to get focused on their life and stuff, but also people did spend some time just doing some creating, whether it was just with a few, their bandmates or by themselves or whatever. But I think a lot of people sort of took the same approach, which is that I'm not going to really show anything until the waters feel a little bit more calm. Yeah.
Yeah, that eagerness to get back out there. I think there's a lot of people kind of chomping at the bit to play some live shows and see how that experience goes. Because I have to imagine for a lot of bands, there's people who love doing stuff in the studio and just that's their purpose in terms of creating music. But a lot of bands, it's that interaction with an audience and the energy that you share between yourselves and as a performer and the audience that's responding to your creations. I wish we could do the Minnesota Music Exchange in person like we've done in past years, where we're actually bands sharing stages and driving up from Minneapolis and back down. But unfortunately, this is how we had to do it this year. But I do want to thank the sponsors who helped with making this possible this year, the way we've done it. Factor, Manitoba Film and Music, the Government of Canada, and the Minnesota Legacy Amendments Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund, who put in to help make this happen. Aaron, Alex, and Brennan, I do want to thank the three of you for joining us and talking and sharing your music. Obviously, we heard the King Brown tracks before. We're going to hear some Super Duty Tough Work tracks in a minute here. But again, thanks for your time and glad you could join us on this.
You bet. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
So we're going to close with the Super Duty Tough Work tracks. We've got the Famine, Exhibit Grey, and FTP coming up here on the Manitoba Minnesota Music Exchange.
We do it. I feed the famine in the mind. No. down these days, my speech train, my each step. Still beat on pages for queens heads and deep ends. We doing backstrokes, fun unique blends. Keep the stress to a minimum, check them with sweet sense and 5 miles. In landscapes where we pass days, and smile gray, sky the colors of vast trays. My classmates displaying the bad taste. I have to play the young Nasir. We rob tourists in this rap game saying only a rat can win the rat race. So you suckers in blackface with all slanging into your hands, just need to chill. Otherwise you just lost one. I face cold crowds like Huey face cops, cock shotgun. So pray for me as we lay patiently in tall grass. Snakes wait to feast, rats chasing cheese. They're unforgiving and they play for keeps. But I'm just trying to get my peace and peace and say peace. But the daily chase is leaving me fatigued. I get in where I fit in, which is in the breaks and beats. A vicious cycle in the haze where days turn to weeks. At breakneck speeds, we take cake, make the tape deck bleed. We love it in public, checking the average Joe, packing assassin. Stepping these divas in the fashion show. My crew is deeper than catacombs. We stand alone and bless the stage with the master chorus like. Yeah, don't stop, get it, keep on, and feed the famine in the mind. What? Yo, don't stop, get it, and mind your manners, baby. Shred the junk hit, head not essential. Full shifts, empty stomachs rock the instrumental. Pushing the culture cross-continental, but still feel we disappointing the fam, yo. And that's some heavy stress to hold. Push true pencils and envelopes, constant motion like a metronome. Hit you like welcome to the terror dome. Trouble on your mind, refuse to lose. Elves smoke room, the bell toes, we blazing meadows. Teeth yellow, tails deeper than bass cellos. More than concerned with the dress code. It takes more than shell toes, like it's Carhartt and cell phones. My giant steal you with that full lashes from the demo. Third world work and the Star Wars manifesto. Slang scholars for your headphones. Back alley lessons, philosophy, debate them apart. When you gather and watch the company you keep. Cause they be bearing gifts, but still they cooked up in deceit. I say it openly because it even goes for me. I've been got my foes to even know supposed to be. And my opponent, so to speak, having my back like I got theirs. Reality, these fuckers got me in the crosshairs. Like man, it's just business. We all out for our own self-interest. That's why I never carry a grudge, only a hit list. And we still building piece by piece. Like Emerson Powers, leaving hands and feet. I pen and thoroughly reflect my image in this beat. And show you how illicit illustrators turn the real niggas to speech like that. Thank you, and thank you again. Wherever you are, near and far, far and wide. Know what I'm saying? Yeah. Let them know. Talk to them like. Doing it in the park. Doing it after dark. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Doing it in the park. Doing it after dark. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Doing it in the park. What? Doing it after dark. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Man, what is it? It's that flow nicely. Precise blows like Tai Chi. My foes profile and posing the Nike as I quietly rock the X like it's 9-3. My lights green, I improvise wise. Compose motion pictures like Spike. Live beats doing what's right. Only heavy hitters in my circle. Like mine's different goals, we all trying to pursue. Kick truth, decolonize the world. You fools thirsting for views on YouTube. Likes on the gram, that's ego. Raps harder than tweets from Mason the evils. Sabotage facades, cats try with applause while they plot. The double cross is raw, but yo, it's like that. That's the way it is. Arranging life, where can I place these heads? Blaze these and get mine since the 1999. Like Common sound bombing this fake shaman. Thinking they so nice with no stripes. We expose Rachel Dolezal types. It's like they wanna flex, try to annex the truth. Get power and influence to cast the image in you. But yo, we hip to it. Ain't no way we let them infiltrate this music. Splash on mics, then exert the influence. And now we traveling without moving. What? You know we hip to it. Ain't no way we let them infiltrate this music. Splash on mics, then exert the influence. And now we traveling without moving. It's like, so gifted, it's no image. We code switching to grow business, got provisions. Across the globe, they blow kisses and wanna roll spliffs. With the kids, with the style so vicious. Each verse gold printed, give them a glimpse of what could be. Ascension is key, so why you shook be? Eyes hidden beneath the woolly. All I see is Kanye copies. I'm like Dundee in the hoodie, and my whole crew close to the edge. Don't push, what kid? The mic check spark a riot. We in the city of missing women and sleeping giants. And talk philosophy, then demonstrate applied science. You should try it. You know I'm talking to these dick riders, biters. While my taste stays refined, the finest cats on that wax shit. Swear that they stylish. All I see is implicit bias, but yo, we hip to it. Ain't no way we let them infiltrate this music. Splash on mics, then exert the influence. And now we traveling without moving. What? You know we hip to it. Ain't no way we let them infiltrate this. Splash on mics, then exert the influence. And now we traveling without moving. What? It's like that, y'all, and you don't stop. Super duty, and we rockin' up. You know you're lucky if you get just one love. What? You know you're lucky if you get just one love. You know what they say. There's one life on love, so there can only be one. There's one life on love, so there can only be. Yeah, that's right. You know what it is. From wherever we are to wherever you be, right? 100% anti-colonial raps for that ass, baby, alright? Yo, it goes fuck 'em, applaud anybody that buck 'em. They bullies with immunity and terrorists to function. Don't gotta be on corners to be dodging and ducking them. Girls getting pulled over, cops be touching them for real. That sexual assault be facts, check the stats. You see they predators with the badge, yo, it's mad. Same cats talk about law, they kill a child in the street, won't face no charge, that's trauma. And now we all got scars, talking that fit the description, put your hands on the car and don't move. And they all sing the same tune, treat it like a game, cause you know they can't lose. Cause even when they're hot, no they won't be convicted. A trial for the public, but he's still gonna be acquitted. It's vicious. Joe's been that way for years. The jury of his peers, couple hours in the murder. DA serving that purpose. Disappeared the footage of the killing, picture perfect. That's if the body cam's working, cause they fail. If they catch it on your cell, then they throw your ass in jail. It's real. And they wonder about the riot. But when it's cops burning and eluding, they all quiet. I'd rather stay burning this illusion than be silent. Cause yo, you're talking to a giant. So yo, on the count of three, say fuck the police. 1, 2, 3, fuck the police. Yeah, fuck them. Know what I mean? It's like, yeah, we let them know exactly where we stand. Know what I'm saying? Listen, let me break it down a little bit. It's like, but it's not just the cops. This trickle down corruption shit is rotten from the top. Phone cops just a small blemish on the face of this issue. Real problem is systemic. Policies right into the way they're implemented. Neighborhoods police the disparities in your sentence. The law of fraud since inception. The flag red with the same blood of Nazi transgression. No wonder they get protection from the crown. Colder sounds deaf, then you better not make a sound. The violence is explicit from the prime minister down. Tears of reconciliation with the pipeline through your town. The main accomplice in the press either ignore the issues of manufactured consent. They crucify Lauren Douglas for consensual sex. But how many jars and pedophiles still on the bench? The stench, cover-ups like bad tattoos. Now I'm saying what have you. It's non-violent, but put the gun in my hand, you know I have to. Blast the shot and shoot the judge for Cindy Gladu. And then they try to blame it on my hoodie. Complexion is a crime shape, I'm wearing the coat and bushy. They got me on the edge and all they trying to do is push me as they celebrate acquittals of my killers and my bullies. But we won't break or bleed. Bury us cause we seize no justice, no peace. Fuck police.